My name is Poppy Lark, and if you ask the other parents at Cottonwood Elementary to describe me, they'll say I'm the cupcake girl, the one with glittery labels, tidy spreadsheets, and a tote that rattles with Sharpies. I didn't set out to become a problem. I set out to be helpful. It's early fall in Thousand Oaks, California. The light is butter soft, the mornings are crisp, and my daughter Isla is learning to read under a tree that drops yellow leaves like confetti if you clap your hands the right way. I'm 27, a graphic designer who freelances after bedtime, and a brand new PTA member because I had energy to spend and the school needed help. That's how it starts, with energy, with trust, with a clipboard and a smile. Our PTA president, Serena Vale, is the kind of woman who could MC a royal wedding without breaking a sweat. She wears wide-leg trousers and perfume that smells like peonies and power. In August, she took one look at me volunteering to run the fun run and said, "Poppy, you're a lifesaver." I felt seen. I felt useful. And then I felt stupid. But we're not there yet. The fun run was our Super Bowl. We plastered flyers all over town. The kids ran laps in neon shoelaces, while parents cheered and little brothers chased bubbles. By noon, the donation buckets were heavy, and the QR code dinged so often my phone buzzed like a beehive. 68,000 in pledges, Serena announced at the finish line, lips glossy, smile luminous. New library shelves, a mindfulness garden, and updated Chromebooks. Here we come. We clapped. We took photos. I went home and cried happy tears on my kitchen floor because it felt good, all of us pulling together like that. 2 weeks later, I was in the PTA closet, behind the stage, hunting for a banner, when I saw the first red flag. A literal red flag, an invoice printed on scarlet paper because someone had run out of normal stock. Premier Event Rentals, $7,900, it said, with a grainy logo that looked like it had been cut out with dull scissors. I frowned. We hadn't used any rentals beyond the school's folding tables and a couple of borrowed pop-up tents from Coach Ramirez. I tucked the paper under my arm, thinking I'd ask Serena. Maybe there were portable speakers I didn't know about. Maybe I missed something. At the next PTA board meeting, I slid the invoice across the table to Serena. The conference room smelled like dry erase markers and coffee. "Hey," I said lightly. "What's this one for?" Serena glanced at it, then at me, and her smile tightened. "Oh, those were backup tent walls," she said smoothly. The wind forecast was iffy. I nodded, but my skin prickled. I remembered a day of still air and sunburned noses. No wind, no tent walls. "Okay," I said. "Just making sure we track everything." After the meeting, Vice President Danica pulled me aside. She was a marathoner with a resting heart rate of 52 and eyes that missed nothing. "Don't worry about it," she said. "Serena's got it handled. But the thing about spreadsheets is, they need to balance. And the thing about lies is, they don't." I started to hear small sounds in the quiet. A teacher's aide mentioning that the new reading rug was delayed again. A facilities guy saying, "We can't order those shelves until the check comes." The kind of little frustrations people brush off because it's easier to believe the system is fine. Then, the treasurer quit. She sent a terse email at 11:43 p.m. Personal reasons. I read it 3 times, my stomach dropping like an elevator. Personal reasons is a door you can hide behind when there's a fire. The next day, Serena announced that she would temporarily assume treasury duties. People clapped. Danica squeezed Serena's shoulder. I told myself to breathe. That night, I sat at my dining table and pulled every receipt from the fun run into a neat stack pizza for volunteers. Paint pens, safety pins, ice. A number popped into my head and wouldn't leave. 68,000. Of that we had spent, maybe 8, tops. Where was the rest? I drafted a polite email. "Hi Serena. For our records, can I get the full vendor list and copies of the invoices you've paid so far? I'm updating the fun run file." I added a smiley face because I didn't want to be that mom. She replied almost immediately. "Sure thing, Poppy. I'll send it tonight." At 1:07 a.m. A folder landed in my inbox labeled, "Fun Run, Vendors, Final." I clicked, expecting a crazy quilt of logos and PDFs. What I found was off. 6 invoices, all with similar layouts, all with totals that conveniently ended in, all with logos that looked like cousins, different names, same font family. Sunshine Stage Co., Premier Event Rentals, Green Valley Wellness Programs, Digital Learning Solutions, Soundwave Audio, Community Safety Services. They were the kind of names you give companies when you've run out of imagination but are determined to sound legitimate. I zoomed in. The dates were typed in with a font slightly darker than the rest of the text. The invoice numbers were sequential, like someone counting on their fingers. I felt my cheeks heat. Then I noticed something that made the room tilt. The address for Green Valley Wellness Programs was exactly the same as the address on a raffle permit I'd filed for our spring carnival. Right down to the oddball suite number. My home address. No, not my home. My co-working space address, the P.O. box I used for design clients. I looked from the invoice to my own letterhead. Same suite, same street. I laughed, a small, shocked sound. Who was this sloppy? Who was this bold? I messaged Danica. Hey, weird Q. Do we have a list of approved vendors? She didn't respond. It was almost 2. I got up, paced the kitchen, sat down again. A memory flashed. Serena at the fun run, talking to a dad from Isla's class, tossing her hair, laughing. She was so good at being in charge. So good at speaking in headlines. Was I about to accuse a headline? I thought about Isla's classroom, the flickering overhead light, the wobbly bookshelf that leaned like it was tired. I thought about the promises we'd made to the kids. I thought about my mother, who cleaned houses in Santa Clarita when I was little, and still found $20 bills to slip into school book fairs. A tightness formed under my ribs, like a hand clenching. I opened a new email and addressed it to Serena and the board. Hi all, I wrote. Quick question on fun run vendors. Can we just cross-check these with the district's preferred list and confirm delivery receipts? Want to make sure everything's aligned before we invoice sponsors for matching funds. I attached a screenshot of one invoice. I kept my tone breezy. When you're walking over thin ice, you don't stomp. The next morning I saw Serena before drop-off. She was by the gate, air hugging people, the sun making her hair look haloed. I got your email, she said, voice syrupy. Next time, just ask me directly. The board doesn't need to be looped in on admin details. Her smile didn't touch her eyes. Totally, I said. Just trying to be thorough. She leaned in, her perfume a little too sweet. Trust me, Poppy. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a boundary. Across the yard, Isla was hopping between chalk squares, her ponytail bouncing. My chest ached. At noon, I took an early lunch and drove to the county records office. If the companies were real, they'd be listed. If they weren't, I needed to know. The records office was fluorescent and sleepy. A clerk named Alicia showed me how to search fictitious business names. I typed in Sunshine Stage Co. Nothing. Digital Learning Solutions. Too many results, none in our county. Green Valley Wellness Programs. Nothing. My hands trembled. I took photos of the screen anyway, heart thudding. As I walked out, the world felt louder. The sky too bright. I sat in my car, held the steering wheel, and realized I was shaking. If Serena was fabricating invoices, that money was going somewhere. I pictured her kitchen island piled with bank statements. I pictured polished nails tapping a calculator. I pictured my daughter's class still sharing a single cracked tablet. My phone buzzed. Danica. Hey, saw your email. Careful. Serena hates when people overstep. I stared at the word. Overstep. It meant I'd put a toe on the line that kept everything polite. It meant stay quiet. I drove back to school and walked straight to the office. Hi, Miss Bev, I said to the secretary, trying to keep my voice casual. Can I get copies of the Fun Run bank deposits? She blinked, then smiled. Those go to the PTA treasurer now. Serena asked us to route PTA stuff through her. Right, I said. Right. I went home. I opened my laptop. I searched for Soundwave audio with our city. A Yelp page with 0 reviews popped up, created last month. The logo matched the invoice. The phone number went straight to a recording. Mailbox not set up. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then I did the thing that would change everything. I printed the invoices. I grabbed a highlighter. I got in my car and drove to 3 addresses listed on the documents. The first was an empty lot, ringed by chain link. The second, a UPS store, with a row of rented mailboxes. The third, a small office building with smoked glass and a dead fern in the lobby. Suite 208 Community Safety Services was a paper sign taped inside the door. When I knocked, it fluttered. No one answered. It was hot in the hallway. I could smell dust and something vaguely lemon. I pressed my forehead to the cool glass of the window and saw nothing. An unfurnished room, beige as an apology. My phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. Stop digging. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I stood there for a long second, breath caught halfway in my throat. My name wasn't in the message, but it didn't have to be. I turned slowly, pulse drumming in my ears. The elevator doors slid open with a soft sigh. 2 people stepped out. One was a woman in a taupe blazer I didn't recognize. The other was Serena, her smile pasted on like a sticker. "Poppy," she said brightly, hands lifting, voice echoing in the empty hall. "What a surprise. We were just meeting a vendor." Her gaze flicked to the empty room behind me. Just for a second, something ugly flashed in her eyes. Not fear, annoyance. Like I'd interrupted a hair appointment. I lowered the invoices at my side and tried to keep my voice steady. "That's funny," I said. "I was hoping to meet them too." Serena's smile didn't move. The woman in the blazer pressed a hand to her phone, like she was hiding a secret. There was a faint sticky sound as my highlighter glued to the paper in my sweaty palm. "Let's talk," Serena said, stepping closer. "Privately." She nodded down the hall, away from Suite 208, away from the elevator, toward a stairwell with a heavy door. The text still glowed on my screen. A tiny warning light. "Stop digging." I glanced at the stairwell. I glanced at Serena's perfect nails. I realized that for the first time since joining the PTA, I was not the cupcake girl. I was a threat. I lifted my chin. "Sure," I said, and walked toward the stairwell. But before I reached the door, a third voice rose from the lobby below, floating up the stairwell like a flare. "Poppy? Hey, Miss Lark? You here to see me about those fake invoices?" I froze. Serena did too. The woman in the blazer went very still. A man's footsteps took the stairs 2 at a time, keys jangling. He turned the corner, face flushed from the climb, eyes bright. He wore a UPS store badge on a lanyard, and in his hand, he held a stack of returned mail stamped in red. Fraudulent. He looked from Serena to me. Then, he smiled like someone who had a story to tell and receipts to match. "Because I think you've been looking for this." My phone buzzed again. This time, it was an email from an anonymous account with one line and a PDF attachment titled PTA Bank, Transfers, Q3. The line said, "Check page 3. I tapped. The stairwell hummed with a sudden electric silence, and what I saw made my mouth go dry. I stared at my phone screen, the PDF loading slow, like it knew what it was about to show me. Serena's heels clicked once behind me. "Poppy," she said softly, like she was talking to a frightened animal. "Let's not do this here." But my thumb was already scrolling. Transfers from Cottonwood Elementary PTA fundraising account to a personal checking account. Account name, S. Vale. 8 transactions over 6 weeks. Amounts ranging from $4,800 to $9,200. Each labeled, vendor reimbursement. My chest tightened. The words blurred, then snapped back into focus as adrenaline surged. Vendor reimbursement. I repeated under my breath. You reimbursed yourself for fake companies. The man from the UPS store shifted awkwardly, holding the stack of returned envelopes like evidence. Serena's jaw tensed. "You don't understand how PTA accounting works," she said. "Funds are routed through your personal checking account?" I cut in, voice shaking. "That's not routing, Serena. That's stealing." Her face didn't change, but something behind her eyes did the way a calm ocean hides a riptide. The woman in the blazer cleared her throat. "Serena, maybe we should step outside." But I wasn't going anywhere. I looked back at the man. Those letters, they're from vendors? He nodded. Addresses were invalid. They bounced back to our office last week. My manager said it smelled funny, so we kept them. Then we got a call from a parent asking about invoices with our P.O. boxes. Figured I'd recognize the name. He turned to me. You called earlier, right? About Green Valley Wellness programs? I nodded. He handed me the envelopes, all addressed to Serena Vale, PTA president. All marked return to sender. I could feel Serena's composure unravel, thread by thread. Her voice went sharp. Poppy, this is harassment. You've overstepped every boundary. I laughed too loud, too raw. Boundaries? You stole money from kids, Serena. From our school. The UPS guy looked between us, uncertain. Should I call someone? Yes, I said. The police. Serena's tone turned icy. You have no proof those transfers weren't legitimate. I held up my phone. Page 3. She took a step toward me, then stopped when she realized I wasn't backing away. For a second, we just stared at each other in the sterile hallway, two moms from the same school, both holding different versions of what was right. Then she smiled. That same too perfect, PR-ready smile. You don't want to do this, Poppy. You'll destroy the PTA. You'll divide the community. Do you really want to be that mom? The phrase hit hard, that mom, the one who makes waves, who ruins things by caring too much. But the truth hit harder. Yeah, I said quietly. I think I do. By that afternoon, the whole town knew something was up. Word travels fast in suburban California, faster than wildfire when it's about money and the PTA. At 4:12 p.m., Serena sent an all-school email titled, Important Clarification Regarding PTA Finances. It was polished, professional, and full of damage control. There have been recent misunderstandings about vendor payments related to the Fun Run fundraiser. These allegations are baseless, and all funds are accounted for. Unfortunately, certain individuals have misinterpreted preliminary reports. Certain individuals. That was me. My name without my name. The comments started on the PTA Facebook group before I even finished reading. Mom Hashon. Can we all just calm down? Serena's been president for years. Mom Hash 2. My husband's in finance. If there are fake invoices, that's serious. Mom Hash 3. Why are people so eager to tear down other women? I closed my laptop, my pulse pounding. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing, texts from parents, whispers from teachers, even a voicemail from my neighbor. Honey, are you okay? Serena says this is all a misunderstanding. I was not okay. But I wasn't backing down. That night, I sat at my dining table again. Same spot where this all started. Surrounded by paper, screenshots, and the smell of burnt coffee. I called Danica, the vice president. She didn't answer. Then, 10 minutes later, she called back, whispering like she was in a closet. Poppy, you can't call me right now, she hissed. Serena's furious. So you know? I asked. Of course I know. Her voice cracked. But you don't understand. She's got people on the district board. The principal. Everyone. If you go public, she'll crush you. She's been stealing, I said. We can prove it. Prove it to who? Half the PTA would follow her off a cliff. I heard the sound of a door creak on her end, then footsteps. Look, she whispered. I'm sending you something. Just don't say my name. The call ended. Seconds later, my inbox dinged. Attachment. PTA, board, meeting, minutes, draft, docs. I opened it and froze. In the margins were tracked comments, notes between Serena and Danica. Serena had written, delete mention of pending reimbursement to Vale. Change to vendor payment confirmed. Below that, another comment. If Poppy keeps pushing, we'll vote her off the committee. Draft statement as soon as possible. Vote her off. My stomach turned. So that was the plan, erase the evidence, erase me. I sat there in the dim kitchen light, staring at the blinking cursor. Then I took a deep breath and started typing. A new post. Public. Straight to the PTA Facebook page. Parents deserve transparency. I've found fake invoices linked to our fun run funds, and multiple payments transferred to personal accounts. I'm attaching evidence below. This is not about drama, it's about accountability. I hit post. My hands were trembling, but my chest felt lighter. Within minutes, comments exploded. Parent has shown. What the hell? My company donated $500 to that run. Parent hash 2. If this is true, we need a full audit. Parent hash 3. Following for updates. Parent hash 4. Can someone verify this? Parent hash 5. I always had a bad feeling about Serena. It was chaos, digital, loud, and impossible to contain. Then, among the flood of comments, one stood out. Account. Serena Vale. This is libel, Poppy. You're spreading false information. My attorney will be in touch. I stared at the words, heart hammering. An attorney. Good. That meant discovery. That meant she'd have to show her records. I replied simply. See you in court. 2 days later, I got an email from a local journalist. Subject line: tip received. PTA fundraiser fraud. He wanted to meet. I almost said no, my anxiety was a live wire, and my hands still shook when I checked the Facebook comments, but something inside me, something small and angry, said, yes. We met at a Starbucks near the school. He was older, in his 40s maybe, with coffee stains on his notebook and a tired but kind expression. I'm Jake, he said. You're the whistleblower? Whistleblower. The word felt too big, too serious for a mom with glitter pens and bake sale spreadsheets. I guess, I said. I just found things that didn't add up. He nodded, flipping through a folder. You're not the first. We've had reports from 2 other PTAs in the district. Similar invoices, same fake vendors. My stomach dropped. Same vendors? Almost identical, he said, pushing a sheet toward me. Only the amounts change. I stared at the names: Sunshine Stage Co., Community Safety Services, Green Valley Wellness Programs. My handwriting was on the corner of one page, a note I'd made weeks ago. She wasn't just stealing from us, she'd been running the same scam across the district. Jake leaned back, eyes sharp. If you're willing to go on record, we can expose this. I hesitated. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the school. The parents. The kids who'd raised pennies and dollars thinking they were helping their classrooms. I swallowed hard. Yeah, I said finally. Let's do it. He smiled, the kind of smile people get when they know a storm is about to break. And just as I reached for my coffee, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Again. You don't know what you've started. Then a second one. You think you're the hero, but you have no idea who's backing her. I looked up at Jake. He saw my face change. What? He asked. I turned the phone so he could read it. He frowned. That's a threat. Keep that. We'll trace it. Outside, through the window, I caught a glimpse of Serena's silver Lexus driving past. She didn't look at us, but I saw her reflection in the glass. Perfect posture, perfect hair, eyes fixed straight ahead, like someone who'd already decided what came next. And as the car disappeared around the corner, a chill crept up my spine. I had proof. I had allies. But now, I also had enemies, and one of them had just made it clear. They weren't playing fair anymore. The morning after my meeting with the journalist, I woke up to 178 unread notifications. Half of them were supportive messages from parents I barely knew. The other half? Well, let's just say anonymity brings out the worst in people. PTA Karen. Jealous much? You're ruining the school's reputation. And my personal favorite, why don't you focus on your kid instead of chasing drama? The irony burned. That's exactly why I was doing this, for the kids. But social media doesn't do nuance. At drop-off, the air was thicker than usual. Parents lingered in clusters. Voices hushed. A few gave me encouraging nods. Others looked away, pretending to check their phones. Isla ran ahead to join her friends, and I forced a smile at Mrs. Carmichael, another mom I used to chat with every morning. Hey, I said lightly. Beautiful day, huh? She blinked at me, her face tight. I don't think it's fair what you're doing to Serena, she said quietly. She's done so much for this school. Stealing isn't charity, I replied, before I could stop myself. Her mouth fell open. You really believe that? I have proof, I said. She's been. Mrs. Carmichael shook her head, cutting me off. You're making everyone uncomfortable, Poppy. This isn't the way. She walked off, heels clicking sharply against the pavement. I stood there for a second, heat crawling up my neck. This wasn't the way? Maybe not. But what was pretending it never happened? By noon, Jake's article was live on the Thousand Oaks Chronicle website. Headline: PTA. President accused of embezzling funds, multiple schools under investigation. My name was in the second paragraph. Whistleblower and PTA volunteer Poppy Lark discovered inconsistencies in fun-run vendor invoices. It was surreal seeing my name like that printed, public, permanent. I felt proud for half a second before the dread kicked in, because now, it was war. At 3:15, I got a call from the school principal, Mr. Franklin. His tone was calm, but you could hear the PR training in every word. Poppy, I just wanted to reach out before tonight's emergency board meeting. There's a lot of tension right now. Serena's filed a formal complaint about harassment. Harassment? I nearly laughed. For uncovering theft? I'm not saying that, he said quickly. But we have to let the district handle it. Maybe step back from PTA activities for now. Step back? My grip tightened on the phone. She stole tens of thousands of dollars. Allegedly, he corrected. And until it's proven, we all need to maintain professionalism. Professionalism. I'll be there tonight, I said flatly. There was a long pause. I don't think that's a good idea. Then you really don't know me, I said, and hung up. That night, the PTA meeting was standing room only. Parents, teachers, even a few reporters packed the cafeteria. The smell of coffee and tension mixed in the air. Serena sat at the front, hair flawless, wearing a crisp white blazer that practically glowed under the fluorescent lights. She looked like someone about to win an award, not face an accusation. Thank you all for coming, she began, voice smooth, controlled. It's been a difficult few days. Misinformation has spread, and I want to clear it up directly. She gestured toward a stack of folders. These are verified statements from vendors confirming payment and services rendered. I raised my hand. You mean the fake vendors? The ones with disconnected numbers and empty offices? A ripple of whispers spread through the room. Serena's jaw tensed. Poppy, you've made serious claims without understanding our accounting process. I have copies of all transactions and board approvals. Approvals forged after the fact, I shot back. I've seen the document metadata, Serena. You edited the minutes. Gasps. Heads turned. The principal shifted uncomfortably. Serena kept her smile pinned in place. I think we've heard enough conspiracy theories for one night. I pulled out my phone and projected the PDF onto the screen. Page 3, I said. The room went silent. There it was, the list of transfers. Her name, her bank, her signature. For a moment, the only sound was the hum of the projector. Then Serena laughed softly, shaking her head. Out of context, she said. These were temporary transfers for expedited payments. Everything was reimbursed. Jake, the journalist, raised his hand from the back. Can we see the reimbursements? She blinked. The room waited. She didn't answer. I stepped forward. You can't produce proof because the money's gone, Serena. Her eyes locked on mine, cold and sharp. You're out of your depth, Poppy. Maybe, I said. But at least I'm not in over my head. After the meeting, I walked out into the parking lot, half shaking, half buzzing with adrenaline. A few parents came up to thank me quietly, slipping words of support like folded notes into my hand. Then I felt a presence behind me. Serena. She leaned against her car, arms crossed. You're enjoying this, aren't you? The attention. The drama. I'm enjoying the truth, I said. You should try it. Her expression hardened. You don't know who you're dealing with. I have friends on the district board. I've been doing this for 15 years. They'll believe me before they ever believe you. Then they're about to learn who you really are, I said. She took a step closer. You think you're a hero. But when this blows up, when your daughter starts getting treated differently, remember, you started it. My stomach dropped. Are you threatening my kid? Serena smiled the kind of smile people wear right before they stab you with words. Just stating the reality of small-town politics. Then she got in her Lexus and drove off, taillights glowing red in the dark. I sat in my car for a long time, the night pressing in on all sides. That's when my phone buzzed again, another anonymous number. You should have stayed in your lane. I didn't reply. I just saved the screenshot. Evidence. But as I looked up through the windshield, something made me freeze. Across the lot, someone was standing near the tree line too far to see clearly, but still, I knew. They were watching me. I turned on the headlights. The figure stepped back, then disappeared behind the trees. For the first time, this stopped feeling like PTA drama. It felt dangerous. I drove home fast, every red light stretching too long, every shadow looking like it moved. When I finally got to my driveway, I saw it a plain white envelope stuck under my wiper blade. No stamp, no handwriting. Inside was a single printed sheet. If you care about your daughter, stop. Last warning. The words blurred as I read them again and again. My throat tightened, and my hands shook so badly the paper crumpled. They weren't just trying to scare me. They wanted me silent. I took a deep breath, pulled out my phone, and dialed Jake. When he answered, I said only 3 words. Call your editor. Then I looked down at the envelope again, and whispered to myself. This isn't just revenge anymore. This is survival. When you're the mom who blows the whistle, you start to notice everything differently. Every car that idles too long near your driveway. Every PTA email that suddenly stops including you. Every whisper that dies when you walk into a room. I used to think paranoia was a weakness. Now, I know it's just intuition with receipts. The next morning, I dropped Isla off early. I didn't want her caught in whatever was brewing. She clung to my hand at the gate. Mommy, why are people saying you're in trouble? That question broke something in me. I knelt down, brushed her hair back. Because I told the truth, honey. And sometimes, when you tell the truth, people who lie get scared. She nodded like she understood. But she's 7. She shouldn't have to understand. I waited until she disappeared inside, then went back to my car and just sat there. Sleep deprived, overcaffeinated, undeniably afraid. Then I saw it. A silver Lexus, parked 2 rows back, windows tinted, engine off. Serena's car, or maybe one that looked exactly like it. Either way, my pulse jumped. I turned the key and drove straight to the police station. The desk sergeant was polite but skeptical, the kind of skepticism that wears a badge and an invisible eye roll. So, he said, you got an anonymous note? And text messages, I added. And someone's been following me. He typed slowly. Do you know who? I have a strong suspicion. Do you have proof? I hesitated. Not yet. His fingers paused on the keyboard. Then, right now, it's just harassment. Unless they threaten bodily harm, there's not much we can. She mentioned my daughter. I snapped. That got his attention. He leaned back. All right. Let's file it as a threat. You'll get a case number. If anything else happens, call us right away. I left with a flimsy white slip of paper that felt like both armor and insult. When I got home, Jake was waiting outside my apartment building, coffee in one hand, notebook in the other. Morning, whistleblower, he said. Morning, journalist, I replied dryly. He smirked. I heard about the meeting last night. You made waves. I made enemies, I corrected. There's a difference. He followed me inside, and I handed him the envelope and screenshots. He frowned. You realize this means someone close to the school knows where you live. I nodded. And they know how to print threatening letters. Jake spread the photos across my table, eyes narrowing. The district's opening an investigation, he said. But off the record? They're dragging their feet. Serena's got connections. Figures, I muttered. He hesitated. Listen, I've been digging deeper. Serena's not the only one. There's a man named Peter Holt, district treasurer. His signature appears on multiple approvals tied to those fake vendors. My stomach twisted. You think he's in on it? I think they've been running a system-wide scam for years, Jake said. And every time someone asks too many questions, they either get voted out, silenced, or discredited. Silenced. Like the last treasurer who quit for personal reasons. Jake slid a flash drive across the table. District email leaks. They came from a source who wants to stay anonymous. You might want to see what's on there. I hesitated. Why me? He smiled faintly. Because you're the only one who's not afraid to open the file. That night, I waited until Isla was asleep. Then, I plugged in the flash drive. Folders appeared. Vendor, logs, payment, records, internal, emails. I opened one marked confidential. The first email was from Peter Holt to Serena, dated 6 months ago. Subject: distribution schedule. Same arrangement as before. Split 60/40. Use separate accounts for visibility. Delete after reading. My heart dropped. The next one was worse, a chain where Serena joked about creative accounting and saving the district from itself. And there it was again, my school's name. Cottonwood Elementary. I took screenshots of everything, every date, every number, every name. If they wanted to silence me, they'd have to bury me under the evidence first. At midnight, I emailed copies to Jake. Then I sent one to myself, one to a cloud backup, and one to a brand new encrypted account I just created. Because if I disappeared literally or digitally, I wanted the truth to live somewhere else. The next morning, I woke to another text. Different number. Same tone. Cute move, hacker girl. Hope you like lawyers. I didn't even blink. I texted back. Hope you like indictments. A few seconds later, those 3 glorious dots appeared, then stopped. No reply. That afternoon, I met with Danica. She'd texted me from a new number, begging for a meeting. I need to talk, she said. Privately. We met at a park on the edge of town, the one with the duck pond and squeaky swings. She looked pale, nervous. Poppy, this has gotten out of control, she said. They're panicking. Serena's been shredding documents. Peter's talking about wiping the district server. Then we need to go to the police. Or the state auditor. She shook her head. You don't get it. If the district goes down, so do a dozen schools. They'll frame you for this. I frowned. Why me? Because you're the one who found it. The one whose name's all over the news. She glanced around, voice trembling. They're already rewriting the narrative. They're saying you doctored the invoices to make Serena look bad. That's insane, I said. Danica's eyes filled with tears. I know. But they have access to everything. Emails, meeting notes. They can fabricate anything. The wind picked up, scattering leaves between us. Why are you telling me this? I asked. She hesitated. Because I saved something. Before Serena deleted it. A transaction receipt, the one that proves she moved funds into her husband's shell company. I stared. You have it? She nodded, pulling a crumpled printout from her purse. Keep it safe. I can't risk them finding out I talked to you. Danica. But she was already walking away. By the time I got home, my phone had blown up again. Jake. Got your email. This is bigger than local. I'm calling a contact at the state attorney's office. 2 minutes later, Jake again. Don't go anywhere tonight. Seriously. Things are moving fast. That evening, the news hit like a lightning strike. Breaking. PTA fraud investigation launched across 3 California districts. Reporters crowded Serena's driveway. The district board called an emergency session. Parents flooded the Facebook page with shocked comments. For a moment, I actually let myself breathe. I thought maybe, just maybe, it was over. Until a black SUV rolled past my building. Slow, deliberate. Then another text came through. We told you to stop. Now we're coming to collect. The streetlight flickered outside my window. My reflection looked like a ghost against the glass. I took one last deep breath, locked the doors, and whispered to the empty room. Fine, come collect. But I'm not the one who's going to pay. The SUV idled outside for nearly 10 minutes before driving off. By then, I had already made 3 phone calls, one to Jake, one to the police, and one to my sister in Ventura, just in case I needed to get Isla out of town. But no one picked up. The silence felt heavier than any threat. I kept moving, locking doors, turning off lights, closing blinds. I didn't even realize I was shaking until I dropped my phone. When I bent to pick it up, I saw headlights sweep across my living room window again. They were back. My heart thundered. I grabbed my laptop and bolted into the hallway, barefoot. My neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, poked her head out of her apartment. "Everything okay, mija?" she whispered. "Yeah," I lied. "Just a tech emergency." I sprinted to the parking lot, jumped into my car, and took off. I didn't have a plan, just instinct. Drive. Stay visible. Stay moving. I pulled into a gas station off the 101 and finally exhaled. Under the harsh white light, everything felt almost normal again. Almost. That's when my phone rang. "Jake, where are you?" he asked, voice urgent. "I've been trying to reach you." "I'm fine, kind of. Someone was outside my apartment." "I believe it," he said. "Poppy, the state attorney's office got your files. They're opening a case." I gripped the steering wheel. "You're serious?" "Completely. But there's more." One of Serena's co-conspirators flipped. I froze. "Who?" He hesitated. "Peter Holt." My pulse quickened. "He confessed?" "Not exactly. He's cooperating in exchange for immunity. He claims Serena forged his signature and that she's been laundering funds through multiple shell accounts, one of which was traced to her husband's company." I let out a shaky laugh. "Danica was right." "She was," Jake said. "And there's one more thing. The DA's office wants to meet you tonight if possible. They need a witness statement before they move on the warrants." "Tonight?" "Tonight. They're bringing in law enforcement first thing in the morning." The words hit like caffeine and relief all at once. It was happening. The end was finally in sight. I glanced at the rearview mirror. No headlights, no movement. "All right," I said. "Send me the address." The meeting was held in a quiet government building downtown. A single fluorescent light buzzed overhead as I walked in, clutching my bag like armor. A woman in a navy suit introduced herself as Investigator Rios from the California Department of Education Fraud Unit. Jake sat beside her, flipping through a file the size of a textbook. "Miss Lark," Rios said, "first thank you. What you uncovered could lead to the largest PTA corruption case we've seen in years." I blinked. "Largest?" She nodded. "Serena Vale and Peter Holt weren't just skimming from Cottonwood. We've identified over 25 fraudulent vendor accounts across 3 districts, totaling nearly $400,000. 400,000. My knees nearly gave out. Rios continued. "Your records and screenshots were critical. We're issuing warrants for both of them tomorrow morning." Jake gave me a small smile. "You did it, Poppy." But something in Rios's tone stopped me from celebrating. "There's one complication," she added. "We believe someone leaked our plan." "Leaked?" I said. "To who?" "An anonymous account accessed internal files 3 hours ago using district credentials tied to a PTA laptop." My stomach dropped. "Serena." "Maybe," Rios said. "Or someone loyal to her. Either way, if she knows what's coming, she may try to run." Jake leaned forward. "You need protection, Poppy." "If she sent those threats?" Rios nodded. "We'll have an officer patrol your neighborhood tonight. Don't engage, don't post online. Just stay inside until we contact you." I left with shaking hands and a folder of paperwork I could barely read. Back home, the street was quiet. Too quiet. I checked every lock twice. Isla was asleep at my sister's by now, safe, at least. I curled up on the couch, laptop open, replaying everything from the beginning. The invoices, the texts, the moment Serena told me to trust her. It was supposed to be a fundraiser. A school event. Not this. My phone buzzed. Jake again. "She's gone. Serena's gone." I stared at the message until it blurred. Gone. She'd vanished before dawn, bank accounts emptied, Lexus abandoned at a storage facility near Simi Valley. Inside the car? Shredded papers. A burner phone. A single post-it note that said, "Tell Poppy she started this." By the time the sun came up, the story had exploded statewide. PTA president flees amid fraud investigation. News vans lined Cottonwood Street. Reporters swarmed the school gates. Some called me brave. Others called me reckless. All I felt was tired. But the DA's office wasn't done. At noon, Rios called again. We traced a wire transfer to a Cayman account, she said. Serena's husband made it. She's still stateside. We'll find her. And when they did, 3 days later, in a rental condo in San Diego, it made every sleepless night worth it. She didn't go quietly. She blamed Peter, Danica, even me. But the numbers don't lie. And neither did the parents who rallied once the truth came out. The PTA was dissolved, the district board restructured, and every penny recovered was put back into the schools. The garden we'd promised the kids? It got built that spring in Isla's name, because the principal said heroes come in small packages. But I didn't feel like a hero. Not yet. Not until I stood in front of that garden and finally exhaled. 6 months later, Cottonwood Elementary smelled like sunlight and lavender. Parents gathered around the new mindfulness garden, the one the fun run was supposed to fund in the first place. The kids were planting succulents in neat rows, and for once, there were no microphones, no cameras, just peace. Serena was serving a 3-year sentence after pleading guilty to wire fraud and embezzlement. Peter Holt lost his immunity deal when the state found he'd hidden an additional account. Danica, who'd turned over that final receipt, became the new PTA president. Reluctantly, transparently, honestly. As for me, I went back to freelance design. I still brought cupcakes to school events, but this time, people didn't just smile at me. They nodded, with quiet respect. Because everyone knew how close we'd come to losing more than money. Jake visited during the garden dedication. He handed me a newspaper clipping. The headline read, "Local Mom Sparks Statewide PTA Reform. Not bad for a whistleblower," he said. I smiled. "I prefer Mom who got tired of being lied to." He chuckled. "Same thing, really." Then his face grew serious. "You ever regret it? Stirring all that up?" I thought about it for a long moment. "Sometimes," I admitted. "But every time I do, I remember what Serena said, that I'd destroy the PTA, divide the community." I looked around at the kids laughing, the parents talking, the sunlight catching on the new bronze plaque. Turns out, sometimes you have to burn down the wrong thing to build the right one. That night, after everyone left, I stayed behind. The air was soft, the sky turning orange-pink. I traced my fingers along the little plaque near the garden's entrance. "In honor of the parents who stood for truth, dedicated by Cottonwood Elementary, 2025. Behind me, Isla's small voice said, "Mom, are you still the cupcake girl?" I laughed. "Maybe not just cupcakes anymore, kiddo." She grinned. "Good. You're like a detective now." I crouched beside her. "A detective, huh?" She nodded, solemn. "A hero detective." I hugged her, breathing in her shampoo and the scent of soil. Maybe that's what heroism really is, not fearlessness, but doing the right thing even when you're scared out of your mind. Later, as we walked to the car, I looked back one last time. The garden lights flickered on, glowing like little fireflies in the dusk. And for the first time in a year, I felt something I hadn't in forever: calm. Not because justice had been served, but because truth had survived. I'm Poppy Lark. I used to think community meant keeping the peace, staying polite, staying quiet, but sometimes peace is just silence that protects the wrong people. Sometimes, real community starts when one person finally says, "No, not this time." Soft outro music fades, a mix of closure and light.